Hello, welcome back to my channel and to my Claude Chabrol retrospective, and today we're looking at the second of the Helene cycle, Meure, which is a rather wonderful English title of The Beast Must Die. It was the name of a novel by Cecil Day Lewis, writing under the name Nicholas Blake. Now, I should offer an apology to start with, actually. I said in the last video that the Helene cycle is 6 films starring a character called Helene, played by Stéphane Audran. In fact, Stéphane Audran doesn't appear in this film. I'd forgotten that, so my apologies, I told you wrong. The lead actress in this film is Caroline Cellier, which is a bit of a shame because she doesn't have the same power or technique in her performance as Stéphane Audran. You kind of miss Stéphane Audran in this film, to be honest. Now, it's a more straightforward film, this. It starts with a brilliant pre-credit sequence, a very memorable pre-credit sequence, where you see this young boy fishing in the sea, and he starts walking back to his village, and it's intercut with shots of a car, this sports car, piling through the Brittany countryside, and eventually the two are going to meet, and the boy is killed in a hit-and-run accident, and the driver just drives on. Hit the credits. It's an incredible sequence, one of the most memorable in Chabrol's cinema. Chabrol, in many ways, challenges himself more as a filmmaker in this film with that opening credit sequence, and a later sequence set on a sailboat, where he has to have two characters enduring a storm at sea. So he's pushing the ante a bit, in terms of his film craft. So after the pre-credit sequence, we're introduced to Charles. Now, Charles is the father of the boy who's been killed in the hit-and-run accident, and he becomes obsessed with finding the man who did it. He's going to hunt him down and he's going to kill him, even though he has no clues as to this person's identity right at the beginning of the film. This is where Chabrol shows his playfulness. Charles has this meeting with this farmer, this kind of coincidental meeting with this farmer who tells him about a car accident by his field about a couple of weeks ago. And through this device, Charles finds out who the killer is. It's a wonderful example of how Chabrol likes to point out the mechanics and the absurdities of the plot rather than smooth over. He loves to push the audience, to the limit, really, and provoke them and play with them. And then he'll pull them back into something more emotional and more powerful. He does this all the time through this film. So Charles learns that in the car at the time was an actress, a famous actress living in Paris. This is Helene. He tracks her down, he seduces her, rather improbably, and then he finds out that the man who was in the car with her at the time, was her brother-in-law, with whom she's had some kind of affair. So he inveigles himself into the family. And what happens is, he becomes friendly with Paul, the killer, and his family, and particularly with Paul's son. And this son is signified as being a kind of, almost like a resurrection of Charles' own son. He even dresses in the same sort of sou'wester when he goes fishing, right? And they bond, they become friendly. There's a rather beautiful scene, actually, just held in one shot when they have a sort of father and son conversation. And Charles finds out that this boy wants to kill his father, that his father is a horrible father and he wants to kill him. And he actually does kill him. He poisons him with rat poison. And Charles, all this time, all the movie's been building up as a revenge drama, and he's absolutely hell-bent on killing Paul. But now he sees a different opportunity. He sees an opportunity to be the father he couldn't be for the son that was killed. But now he can be a father, so he takes the son's place and he takes the blame for the murder. So what was a tale of revenge becomes a tale of familial healing. It's very beautifully done. But this is Chabrol, and it is written by Paul Gago, so it's shot through with bits of black humour. Now, the best scene in the film, I think, is there's a wonderful scene. Charles has inveigled himself into Paul's family. We haven't seen Paul yet. There's a big build-up to this guy arriving. And he's invited, Paul's wife is holding a dinner party, and he's invited to the dinner party with this actress. And Chabrol stops the film, basically. He pulls his camera back to a wide shot, and we watch these bourgeoisie having these terrible, really embarrassing, anodyne, awkward conversations about the weather and about how difficult it is to, work in this area at the moment and all this stuff. It's excruciating. And you can just sense Chabrol and Gago sort of giggling in the background, behind the camera, loving this, right? And this is the calm before the storm, before in comes Paul. Paul is the beast that must die. He's killed this child. And Chabrol and Gago have a fantastic time here because he is the most monstrous, rude, vulgar, horrible character you could imagine. He's a bear of a man. He comes in and he insults and humiliates his wife over her poetry at the dinner table. He throws things at his son in front of everyone. It's like this comedy nightmare. And you can sense, Paul Gago, the screenwriter, was famous for being a very difficult guy who used to scandalise his friends. And you can see that Gago is kind of parodying himself, but also kind of enjoying himself at the same time. Chabrol starts to introduce in this film lots of elements that we will see throughout his films. First of all, he introduces Brittany, sort of Western France, an area that's very like sort of Cornwall in Britain, very beautiful, slightly mysterious, very far away from the urban world of Paris. And it features in a lot of Chabrol's films. And he also introduces food. Now, anyone who knows anything about Chabrol knows that he was a great gourmand. Many of the people who made movies with him said they loved making films with Chabrol because they always ate well. Because, he used to have these fantastic meals and he was a real gourmand. And you start to see that all the major moments in Chabrol's films are to do with food. So in this film, right at the end, Charles and the actress, they've got to tell each other the truth about their aims and who they are. And Chabrol stages this in a restaurant, rather incongruously, where the waiter is serving them shredded duck. And he's concentrating as much on the shredding of the duck as he is on their conversation. It's a brilliant, the brilliant black humour of Chabrol. I'm also watching this film. I'm kind of curious if the cinematographer, Jean Rabier, had watched Peeping Tom, Michael Powell, because there's a shot very early on when Charles is watching footage of his child in home movies, where the lighting and the composition is very much like Carl Böhm watching his home movies in Peeping Tom. Watch out for that if you watch the film. So this is a film after Femme Infidèle. In Femme Infidèle, we had a guy we're showing how hard it was to dispose of a body after a murder. This is a film showing how hard it is to bring yourself, to motivate yourself to kill someone. That's kind of what the movie is about. It's a more straightforward film than most of the films in the Helene cycle and most Chabrol films. It's not one of my favourites, but I would definitely say it's worth a watch. Thanks very much.